Being 7 o'clock, I'll call the planning board meeting of October the 16th, 2018 to order. Please join me in the pledge.
We went back 100 years.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please.
Steve McConerty,
Yeah.
Rick St. Jean,
Yep.
Martha Eldridge. Here. Tim Audubon,
Yes.
Peter will be absent. Dennis Legender,
Here.
Roy Barron,
Yep.
Connie Billings.
Here.
Peter just texted me saying he's stuck in Milton Borough working.
Mind everyone of the procedures. Those in the audience, if you wish to speak, please stand and be recognized by the chair. State your name for the record. Is there any public input unrelated to any case being presented tonight? Isn't, we'll proceed. Review.
Connie, Steve would like to say something.
I can speak after the meeting, I'll join the meeting, you can go ahead.
Is it
It's got to do with an apartment going over the old
that's
Mac
new
building.
business?
It's actually an informal. It's actually an informal.
Minutes of October the 2nd.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second. All those in, any discussion, corrections? All those in favor? Motion carries. I will present the budget on, what is it,
September's.
no, October 20,
Oh, that budget.
October 29th,
October 29th to the selectmen.
correct, and then to the budget
November's-
committee on November 2nd, 7th.
7th, correct.
Make a motion that we approved that last meeting.
Yep, we already did that.
So, did you give us a budget?
I thought I did, but,
Looking for a second?
pardon?
You still working on this?
Yes.
Something that you,
I thought you were done.
something you want to add, Dennis?
There's nothing on here, is it? Pardon?
Something you want to add? Informal discussion, I guess you can bring that up now, Steve.
Yeah, the old Macfield Real Estate, John Hodgkin building.
The Hodgson Farm, yeah.
Hodgkin Farm. Chris was here last month, the firearms, going into Big Moose. He's not going into Big Moose, he's got to go into that building, but he wants an apartment above it. It's permissible, I don't have a problem with it. What's your take?
That's in commercial, residential, commercial, industrial.
Yeah, the apartment is permissible upstairs.
Right.
Most of it's there, he's just gonna put a kitchen in. I don't have a problem with it.
As long as he makes us your specs,
That's it.
right?
Thank you.
Anybody else got any ideas on that?
Martha was gonna say
Miss
something.
Wolf's not a problem.
Not on that, but are we, you're gonna level fund the budget? Is that the plan?
We're going,
Well, if you're
We
meeting with the
increased it to the postage, we increased to 18, and everything else is out of our hands, in Ellen's hands. You, the selectmen, are the ones that
Well, I
set the
just
salary.
figured this will be the last time we'll meet. I'm just asking, are you gonna increase it?
Just postage, yeah,
Okay.
because everything else,
Now we had 2 increases.
no, we took off planning, Lakes Region, we asked the Lakes Region and computer to be taken off because they were done by the town. That was the motion. So increase postage to 1,800 from 15. And to take the 2 other line items off because they didn't pertain to us any longer.
Actually, postage was only increased to 1,700, not 18.
Supposed to be 18.
You guys had said 17.
No, 18. Because the post office is talking about increasing postage from 45 cents to 50 cents first class.
Yep, that's right, our business.
Down on the front page.
I believe I said 18, but we'll go with 17. Unsatisfied conditions are the only thing we have under that is Steve, can you get to Carl? Ask him for that letter so we can get this off.
For Verizon store.
Yeah, I'll see him next Monday again.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, is that the last item we have on that project?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Ospey recovery, they've put the stockade fence up. Have you inspected it, Steve?
Not the 800 feet of it, but I inspected the wood line. It's all in, yeah, it's fine.
And they took the old fence down.
The post is still in, but the fence is down, yeah. They'll be pulling the post too.
Well, as soon as you give us the okay, we'll remove those two. And that's what they're doing in the front square, is the loading and unloading area.
What's that?
The driveways are U-shaped.
Well, they didn't get permission on one section of the driveway, they weren't, and Dana's working on that now. They've only got one driveway coming in now, they don't have 2, the state wouldn't give it to them. So
Okay.
it's up to their engineer to work with Dana, he's gotta get his truck in there, and he's working on that.
All right. That's all as far as I know on the unsatisfied. Unfinished business on the gravel pits.
Chickville Pit, they should be in next time. The lawyer canceled his meeting the last minute for the deposit to get that straightened out. Everything else is done, and he plans to be in next meeting. I talked to him yesterday.
Yeah, because I received a whole packet of information.
He just had one more item straightened out, he's done.
James,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim Rhines from White Mountain Survey and Engineering, here with Busky Berry and,
Wait a minute, Jim, this is just gonna be an informal,
yes.
Okay.
Yep, yeah, just to update the board.
correct?
Roy got a hold of me 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, and said, hey, we got to get the Berry Pit in conformance. And so I immediately went out there and looked at it. There was a few issues that where excavation had occurred below water table. Those have already been cured and refilled. I've got some pictures. I also just, I was in looking at the file today, and I didn't see these. You can take one and pass it around. These are the alteration of terrain permit that's on file, and then
Yeah.
the subsequent letter that said that, you know, the next one was due in September 2019. The pit right now is about 15 acres is open. That includes the roadways and stuff. When we were in and got permits originally in 2007, and then there was a follow-up in 2010, there was, those roadways were sort of excluded because they're the maneuvering areas. So obviously, this didn't become in non-conformance in overnight, and it's not going to get brought right back into conformance. But you've got our attention. We've got Ed here who's running the pit. We've explained to him what, some things that need to be done. I'm going to go out with my crew and locate exactly what's done, and so we can pick some areas to start to reclaim, to shrink it back down to the way it was supposed to be when it was permitted back in 2007. I have the application. You mailed this to Busky in April, I think, and I got it in May, and we were scheduling work 4 to 5 months out. And I, just the wheel wasn't squeaking, so it's on me that I didn't get this to you sooner. I've completed almost the entire thing. Busky just gave me some more information tonight on the PA 38 and the PA 39 and the bank that's got the security. So I will finish filling this out and submit this tomorrow so that you can have this on file. I also got the agreement. I noticed this application says is the agreement with the contractor on file with the town, and I went through the records and it is not, so he brought me that tonight, so I'll copy that and include that with this information. But the purpose of tonight was to prevent a cease and desist or anything to be issued on it so that they can continue to make money to reclaim it, and so that Busky, who owns the property, isn't punished for the way it's been operated, which, just because nobody, we weren't paying attention, and now we're going to pay attention. So that's the purpose of me coming in here tonight and having them here, so that you know that we have heard you and we're working on it. So I hope to get my crew out there and start to locate the limits of the pit within the next week. We established a couple of GPS coordinates last week, and so then I'm going to just go around and GPS the whole thing in. So I don't know if there's any questions that you've got.
How many acres do you think there is without the roadways?
Without the roadways?
That's my main concern there. I think it's around 7+.
Yeah, I think that that's safe. The last time, when we did this in 2007, before, the excavation started again, after Milton had gone out and Paul Taylor was in there, there was 11 acres open, and I think at that time they said 9 of it was roadways. But that included some over on the side over where it's now a log yard and it's not active excavation. So I haven't calculated it in there, but that's one of the things that we're going to do.
The main pit is a lot of stone. Stockpile, there's some stump and debris stockpile that shouldn't be there.
Right,
unless it's gonna be ground and put into the loom for reclamation,
right.
would be the only exception I can think of. Pretty good job was done in reclaiming the holes properly, clean sand, I inspected that. But I'd like to see some type of date set for next year where we're back somewhere near compliance.
And I,
It's like the end of July or something, because it's kind of too late to seed now, and there's a lot of work to be done.
right, and I think
know.
that that'll be easier to quantify for the board and for Evans once we get it located, and we're gonna locate the roads so that we know, you know, what's travel surface, what's open excavation, what has been reclaimed. There's one there's one new area that had been reclaimed over in the, on the east side of the pit, I guess, but it's.
How long do you think you'll be regrinding?
I think it will probably be the better part of November, you know, end of this month and November, getting the data and drawing it. So then we'll submit to you guys. You probably will see something in December.
I appreciate that. I don't see any reason at this point, in my opinion, it's up to the board to shut anything down. I expect I'll run in probably at least once a month for a while and keep an eye on things. And if you'd keep in touch with the board, how you're coming on stuff, monthly or whatever, I'd appreciate it. I'd like to keep Mr. Berry's, you know what, out of the ringer, so to speak,
Yep.
and get the gentleman back in compliance.
I think that's the goal for everybody now that our attention's been gained.
I appreciate that. I'm sure the board does.
And what is the asphalt gonna be used for?
Just reclaim that.
I see a pile of mixed asphalt and gravel on the road.
Yeah, it's,
He's mixing.
a lot of people use it on the driveway, actually. It's kind of a replacement for 3/4 inch gravel, but.
Well, my understanding is that if you ground it, it wasn't hazardous. The town ran into that. They dumped Hawkins Street when they did it 10 years ago over to Constitution Park, and they made us take it out.
My understanding is you can't bury it, but you can grind it and mix it.
Right.
Yes, and they actually do have DOT.
And he does, as you look where the asphalt is, you look on the other side, there's a pile of mixed. It's all ground up. That's why I didn't say anything about the asphalt, because I knew he was grinding it. I use it in my drive when I get a chance, but it's usually more expensive than I can afford.
Any other questions? Board? What kind of a timeline would you like, Jim, or Ed?
I mean, if you think next summer, so we can get, you know, we can get it seeded in the spring once we've, you know, your seed seasons, you know, you want to seed in May usually, so we'll get the plans done this winter. I mean, you know, in December, say, into you guys, show what's actually out there, and then pick areas. I'll get together with Ed and pick areas where he can keep working and keep, and reclaim those areas that he can stay out of. I think that that's a reasonable.
That's why I said, I did in July. It's pretty hard to see July and August, usually too
Right,
dry.
yeah, it would be too hot, especially out there.
You know, if you're close, you can't quite make it, just come before the board again,
Oh, I think,
you know?
I don't see a reason. So,
I mean, most problems in life are communication, and I think the communication has been lacking here, and just need to improve it.
I don't see any other thing to cover at this point. Does anybody else?
Well, I'll make a motion that we,
Extend it to July
It's an
31st.
informal, isn't it?
but as regulators, we may make a motion, I believe.
I can, nobody else can. I would like to make a motion, if it's agreeable with the gentleman up back, that the pit should be reclaimed by end of July. If you can't, to come before the board, let us know why.
Can I just get a clarification that it's not reclaiming the whole pit, it's
No,
reclaiming
no.
it down to?
Get it back to the
Yeah.
5 acres or under.
Yeah, okay.
That's in my motion, 5 acres or under. So it's back into, you get it back into compliance.
With the original permit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, not the original, because you only had 2 acres open, so I would say 5 acres.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what the 2007 permit was for. I think it,
It's 5 acres.
was it 5 acres?
Oh.
That's why I just said 5 acres or less.
Yeah.
That keeps it simple. It's easy to get into compliance. If that's agreeable with you gentlemen, that's what I'd like to do. Anybody want to make a second on that?
I'll second
Yeah.
that motion.
Thank you. Anybody have any more discussion?
I'm getting a nod over here, so.
Okay. Made, seconded, and motion. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
I'll abstain.
All right.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in.
I'll
Much
get this
appreciated.
in tomorrow. I'll get this in tomorrow.
Ken, when do you want? Ken, when would you like the application acted on? Because if you don't have your plans done until November, you'd probably want it the 1st of December.
Yeah, so then, what I should do then is submit this application with a new set of plans. All right, so then I won't put this in tomorrow, I'll put it with the whole package.
Yeah,
And I'll, if we can get the plans done in November, then we'll submit in November and be heard, depending on the holiday schedule and stuff, either a meeting in December or a first meeting in January or something, but that's
that's
what.
why I say the application, that's why I asked when you wanted to act on it.
Okay, yeah, no, I was thinking that you just needed to have this on file, so I'll,
No, well,
all right, then I'll.
we have to have the
plan.
public hearing,
Okay, so it's notify butters, all
Right.
all right, very good.
right?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ambrose Pitt, we have received the application. And we're having a hearing next month on the 6th. Morse Pitt, have you heard from Mr. Morse?
I have not, and I called him again this evening, left a message on his cell phone to give me a call to set up a time to come in and review those files.
Okay. Proposed zonings. Steve, you want this? What do you mean by farm animals?
A barn on a separate piece of property, a structure on a separate piece of property, probably in a rural area. People would, whether it's horses or cows,
Goats.
without having to put a structure on it, they'd like to have an agricultural barn or a structure.
We tried to do that 3 years ago.
That's my thought. I'm getting a lot of it, and people are coming up to me and asking me about it. I'm gonna sit down with the selectmen.
You've got to change the ordinance because,
I believe it was state that enacted it.
right now you cannot have a shed or a barn, anything on a separate lot without a house on it.
Exactly.
So you're gonna have to get that ordinance and rewrite it.
Exactly. And we're looking for agricultural only.
No.
With certain
No.
requirements.
See that? That was the big bugaboo. Because people wanted to put a shed up and then build their house. And according to the ordinance, you can't do it.
That's right, you can't do it. You can't,
So,
you
if
can
you're
buy
gonna
a lot of
allow it-
land, you can't do anything with it until you have a septic and a residence on it.
So, if you're gonna do that, that's discrimination. That's saying, just because I own a horse, I can put a building up on a separate lot with no sewer and water,
But know what?
with no sewer and water.
We're looking for something for agricultural, people with the animals.
But you can put up a 200 square foot building without a permit.
You can't, well, yeah, without a permit, yeah.
Well, by state law, you don't need a permit for,
You need building permits for
not for,
anything.
not for under 200 square feet.
State law, we, at the town of Ospey, were $2,500
Yeah.
or more. And that's how it runs, and the town can do that, we adopted that. But it's agricultural, they don't wanna put a septic and an apartment in it just for that purpose. They just wanna put their horses in it, store their horses and hay.
Makes sense to me.
Are you gonna limit the size?
They would have to be. The setback requirement, you'd have to meet that too, 100 feet off property lines.
If it's gonna be farm animals, it's gonna be in a rural district,
Exactly.
which is 5 acres, minimum.
Exactly, and I know this.
So, I mean, they could put a building up there, riding rink, everything on 4 acres and still make their setbacks.
Oh, you've got land coverage too. You've got a lot involved there. There'll be requirements. This is just a thought that I have. It's coming up and a lot of people are asking the questions.
Well, write it up and we'll, over in November. I asked the ZBA if they had anything, and they wanna us to look into the index, which Wolfboro has, for properties on the lake.
Side setbacks. The side setbacks have an index for certain size lots for the width of the lots.
Well, it's front setbacks too.
Front setbacks aren't included because they're already set in stone. It's just the side setbacks.
No, and ZBA's had a lot of front back.
The ZBA only wants the side
Just the
setbacks,
side.
the way Wolfboro has it, that's all. How's that the meeting? And something about the side setbacks can't be changed anyways.
Well, I think I'd like a little clarification from the ZBA on it.
Mr. Chairman, can we have the ZBA provide us with some language or a copy of the, you know, the
Should be in the minutes.
index system that they're referring to, that they, you know, that they would like to adopt or modify to meet our requirements in town?
They weren't looking to adopt it, they were asking the
If we were
planning
interested.
board to look into it.
Okay,
See if we are interested.
no, I got you.
Lakefront property only,
Yep, no, I'm aware of that.
okay, and that's something about the front setbacks can't be changed.
Right.
I don't remember what it was.
Sure.
The side setbacks, they got an index for a different size, how big the building can be.
Lot
to the lot.
lot
size.
width versus,
The
yeah.
smaller the lot, the narrower the lot, the less a setback has to be to a
Right,
certain
right,
point.
right.
And then it gets to a point where you can't.
To accommodate certainly
Yeah.
these older grandfathered
Yeah,
lots.
exactly.
Yep.
And Wolfboro seems to have a pretty good setup on
Yeah.
those. They didn't want to change nothing about the front, that's just the side they wanted to do.
Once they-
And then it was up to the planning board, they didn't care one way or the other.
Right,
But we are getting a lot of stuff on the ZBA that has to do with the side setbacks.
sure. We've run into
That's
that.
been most of our business the last few meetings.
Yeah, we've run into that quite frequently on lakeside lots that are long and narrow. And it would be nice, as our previous discussion was, had identified that we need to look at this again. So perhaps we get a copy of the a sample index system and see if that, you know, review it. and see
My,
what we
it's my
think.
understanding, it cut down the load on the ZBA like 60 or 80%.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
okay.
Take it I'm doing that too.
smile.
If you'd like to.
No,
Okay, don't.
it's this board's responsibility to do
All right, I will
this.
take care of it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll get a copy of that
Thank you.
section of the Wolfboro ordinance to see if we
Alright.
can review
If you would,
the
Tim.
content.
Apparently, they had some pretty good ideas over at St. Walter Bridge. And the ZBA thought the planning board might be interested in looking at it.
Right.
Well, I know they've had a lot of problems down there on the lake.
They still have.
And, of course, they're not gonna get around the Waterfront Protection Act.
Nope. Other problem down there is the fact they're tearing down the houses and they're putting bigger houses on there. That's
Yeah.
really caused a lot of trouble.
All righty. Tim, if you'll get that for the next meeting, please.
Yeah, I'll try to get it and get a copy to Laura so that she can distribute it to all of us before our next meeting.
All right. Under Article 35.2,
34.2.
it's also 35.2.
Okay, it's not on here, that's 3.2 and 34.2.
In the parentheses,
Tim?
in the parentheses, it also says 35 point.
Oh, way over, okay. I didn't read far enough over, my apologies.
Anyone got thoughts on the lawn care or backslash the Thank you, Martha.
Sorry. Apologize.
I know what's gonna happen now if I don't turn it down.
Lawn care and landscaping business for a definition. Or do we want to include it, or do we not want to include it?
We have a definition for it now?
No,
No.
these are all ones that we have to create a
Right.
definition for if you want to put it in as a zoning ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, I've started to look into this. I was planning to get them all and, you know, just as a definition that I've discovered in other zoning ordinances to see if there's any that sound reasonable or, you know, and we can then review them and
Well,
propose accordingly.
what bugs me is that it's not allowed in the village.
I frankly think.
Well, we would have to determine which zoning district each of these different uses can occur.
Right now, it's not allowed in the village.
Right.
And that is the only reference, as far as I know,
I
to a
personally
lawn
think,
care business.
I personally think it should be allowed in any district. It's usually a small business, including the village.
Yeah, we certainly don't want to restrict businesses coming into town.
It's a small business. I can see restricting monster business, but I think if we could keep any for certain size business,
Sure.
you know,
I
that it
think
should
under
be allowed.
I think under commercial, you can have a lawn care business, office, that's what you're working out of. Under commercial accessory uses, you're allowed to store your equipment
Right.
and warehouse.
Not in the village.
In the village and/or commercial. You'll find that under the definition. It's in the back of your ordinance book. I don't have my book in front of me.
It's under commercial, Steve, you said,
Yeah.
in the chart of
And you
uses?
can, that's the village district is the only one where you can do both. Commercial and/or village.
Was that under, would that be covered under service station repair, automobile and truck repair?
That would be on the back of your ordinance book as far as your accessory use.
That's-
35.6.
notes where you can fence it in, you can wall it in, and store your equipment. As part of the business.
It'll be on page 88, outdoor storage.
Oh, outdoor storage, I see. Mhm. Based upon that and what our ordinance says, outdoor storage is permitted in all different zones within our town. Page 81, Connie?
And that in conjunction with the office.
Right,
There's your
right,
business.
right. So that wording of that definition should encompass the, or reference the outdoor storage component of our ordinance. Mr. Chairman, we have a question from the public.
Yes, Ash.
Ash Fishbein, Ospey resident. I think my question to that would be, if I were a landscape company and I had a bunch of lawnmowers and weed whackers, I wouldn't want to leave them outside in outdoor storage. Just as a concern, as a business owner.
And the way it's written, it could be just a walled area to it, which is a building. That's the way I would look at it.
Okay.
So you can store them in a building.
Yeah, it says wall, and don't say fenced.
Yeah. This says fence, I believe, walled.
It does, but there's a wall, fence,
And that's a
shrubbery,
building.
whatever.
Second question, is the new zoning ordinances up on our website yet? From 2017, the ones that,
Yes.
they are?
Yep, been there.
Steve, you're gonna have to run into in your barn, stables and riding schools are not permitted in village residential, commercial, all the other zones, there's special exceptions.
What are we talking on now? This is
The stables,
the stables.
that's what it says, stables and riding schools.
But what I'm not looking for, stables or riding schools.
You put a horse in the barn, it's a stable.
Or a stall.
Or stall. It's something I'm looking into.
Yeah, well,
I thought we were talking about.
no, I mean, I just ran across that,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
in the next section, 35.6 accessory uses, 10D1, no barn or shelter or other building used for housing of said animals or the storage of feed supplies shall be located within the setback area. But it doesn't say that it's not allowed to have a barn or a
No,
Shelter.
that,
I'm just curious, where in our ordinance does it say you cannot have a barn or a shelter for agricultural animals?
it doesn't.
Oh, okay. It's just that we don't permit it in any of our
No.
zoning.
The thing that Steve is bringing up is a separate lot,
Right,
not where the house is.
right.
So, right now, you're not allowed to put anything on a separate lot without
A house and
a
a well
house.
and a septic system. Right. I got you.
Why would we have zoning in every zone that you can't have a stable or a riding school? Try to make sense in a country town.
You can have farm animals.
You could have farm animals, but
Pets.
why can't somebody have a stable? Up in Maine, there's a lot of them, or was when I was up there.
The man that you could ask is 6 foot down, so,
Well, I think maybe we ought to work on changing that,
well,
at least in 4 of the zones.
We can certainly look at how it's
That's
handled.
totally
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Horses are a big business. People
Sure.
love to ride.
Sure.
By state,
how-
by state law, you're supposed to have a quarter-acre land for every animal.
Right.
That's fine, that can be included.
I'm just saying, there are many, many places around this town right now. That's not what you have.
Well, and you can't just restrict it to
So-
cows and horses. Some people have goats, and that's
It all
considered a
falls. It's
farm
all
animal or
livestock.
pigs.
Right now, it's restricted to horses only,
Yeah.
what he just read.
Yeah,
no, that's
State
You
is
said
all
stable.
livestock.
stables and riding schools.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's horses.
That's strictly horses.
I haven't seen anybody ride cows around here in a long time, but I've tried it, don't work. Back when I was a kid.
Go ride the piggies.
What's that?
Say, go ride the pigs.
Hmm.
That never interested.
My son tried it once.
We did try steer riding once or twice, it didn't work good.
Riding pigs doesn't have either.
They did all right, but we got beat up.
Mr. Chairman, where in our zoning does it state that we cannot have a barn or a shed without having a house with septic and water on site?
It's accessory structures, they're not allowed without the primary.
Oh, okay, yep, yep, yep.
So we should work on that, we should work on hospitals.
So we would have to establish, I would assume, an exception to the language and accessory structures specifically for agricultural use, for a structure to house agricultural animals.
Or tractors.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
So
a
if we
different,
wanna-
subject, because that's already, that's a good point.
Well, your agriculture, if you read that, on the definitions,
Just tell what it is.
that would be, the old book was page 73.
So it is.
Page what?
73 in the old book, on the definitions.
73 in the new book. No, yes. Mhm.
That's where your accessory building is defined too.
Right. So it sounds like we have in our zoning a disconnect between agriculture use and what's permitted in our different zones.
Technically, the state prohibits us from putting cramps on agriculture, silviculture, forestry. There's one other one.
Yeah.
That's in That's under the, oh, I can't remember where it is now. But it's right, defined right out. And it's not in our ordinances, it's in the state regs.
Yeah, you found that when they were trying to pass the forestry changes about steep
No,
ground
they
and
were,
stuff.
well, they were trying to above 2,500 feet and more than 15% slope.
Yep.
And they've updated that since then. Now includes, agriculture and silviculture. And I can't remember whether that's under forestry or whether that's under our planning.
Okay, so right now, under 34.4A, agricultural uses is not permitted in the village or in the residential district. It is permitted in every other one.
Yeah,
So is this board looking to change either of those two?
Agriculture's not put in residential?
Shouldn't change.
Not in residential,
Not
not
in
in the
town.
village.
Right, and I don't see a need to change it.
no,
I
that's
think-
wrong, Dennis.
Hmm?
That's
What?
wrong.
You mean it's
What
wrong.
what is Chickville Road, is that residential or rural?
You're rural.
I'm rural.
Yeah, residential and village do not allow agricultural uses only. All the other zones do.
Which makes sense.
Yes,
No, it doesn't.
It
Yes,
don't
it
make
does.
sense if you got enough property, like 5 or 10 acres residential. If you got 1
And
acre,
you
it
go
makes
for
sense.
special exemption again. So that too.
Well, I had them prior to zoning, so it didn't matter.
right. But the issue here is creating a section in the ordinance that provides for the construction of a shed or a barn on a lot that has no residence on it. Is that what we're
But
discussing,
it's
basically?
also, what Laura said, are we gonna allow, agricultural uses in the village and the rural, and the residential? Because you've got,
Stick to one here.
uh,
Stick to one ordinance at a time.
well, I mean,
I understand that they're all tied together,
Right,
but you can't change one without changing
Right.
Correct.
another one
Right.
first, so
Excuse
if
me,
we can
Connie,
start
can
at the
I-
first one.
right.
Can I write something up? I'd like to sit down with the select body first, and then present it to the board next meeting.
Yeah,
That way you'll have an idea. There are setback requirements too. It's animal and
Right,
waste.
right.
So you have a minimum of 100 feet off the property lines. So it's pretty-
Right.
Well, you're not gonna find anything like that in town, so let me write something up,
I beg your pardon,
other than you.
As- what?
I got 13 acres, you're gonna tell me I can't do it?
No,
And
other
you
than
allow
yourself.
someone to build a stable or a barn or whatever, put a shed on a piece of land they own, let's say they got a couple acres, and deny another person who wants to put a garage on that piece of property.
That's what I brought up before.
Yeah, it should,
No, it's exactly.
They
what
did
I'm
the same
saying.
thing.
So it's not just a definition of a barn or a shed, it could be any type of accessory structure in general that we're talking about.
yeah, you can't just say it's limited to stables, it's gonna be.
No, I
If
get
I have a
what you're
piece of land,
saying.
and I wanna put a garage and I wanna have a place to build
They
antique
can't do a
cars.
business, so I'll become a planning board
Why shouldn't I
anyway,
be able to
so
do that if somebody can have a stable?
if they wanted to do
So
a
you've
business,
gotta make the ordinance fit everything or nothing.
if they wanted to have a business, they'd have to come before the planning board.
No, this
anyway,
isn't a
Oh, they
business.
don't.
No, what, you missed what I'm saying. If they
No, they-
wanted to do a business, they'd have to come before the planning board,
Well,
so.
that's not what I'm
It-
saying.
You're missing my point. Can I finish? Okay, I agree with what you're saying, but there's no way they could do a business without coming before the planning board, so it's not a problem, is what I'm trying to say, but you cut me off at the knees before I can get my words out.
But Roy, you forget that they could claim it's home occupancy.
They can't, there's no septic system, not living there, now can they?
And still they can have the accessory building.
If they had an accessory building, they're not living on a piece of property, it's not a home accessory.
By definition, it's not,
period.
right?
And we can add it if we need to, but it's not. They don't cut water, ice with me at all. They wanna do a boundary line different, if it's attached to the property same side of the road, then it'd be a home business. But as long as it's a separate piece of property, it's not a home business.
Right. And if there's no residence on it,
And that's my point.
yeah. And the question is, the statement is the ordinance would have to be broad enough to cover not just agricultural uses, but other types of
Yes,
accessory buildings.
accessory builds allowed,
Well,
period.
we have granted a building on a separate lot with no house on it. And this planning board gave it. It's down next to Ward's Boat Shop, across the street. Next to the real estate agency.
That's right, I remember that.
Man came in, wanted to build a building, keep his boat in.
Oh, like a storage shed.
No, ask Steve, it's a pretty decent building.
Yeah.
It's a warehouse.
That's
It's toy lots.
I think you wanna be careful what you do here. I think the rule the way it is now, is there for a reason. I think it's a good one in the sense that most people, they would say, okay, I'm just gonna put a stable on it, and it'd be a nice stable. You get somebody else come in and say, oh, I'm just gonna put a stable here, and they end up living in it.
You can't legally.
No.
We all know that, but you try to get somebody out once they're in it. That's the, right? Let's not even go there.
Well,
Let's just keep it the way it is.
If a structure does not have an approved water
You don't
system and
understand.
septic system.
You're missing
the
the
state-
point.
the
Once
state
they
can
get in, they
actually-
won't leave.
No, but I'm saying the state can
Yeah,
actually
but because of one person,
take
you're
precedent.
punishing everybody else, that ain't right either.
Right,
There's a lot of it.
yeah.
I will look into it if it's.
You wanna say something, Danny?
Yeah, what he just said is true. You know, Doc Glick, when he first moved here, he built a great big barn up to the marble farm. He had cows in there, but he lived at the motel. Then we went in and put apartments, not apartments, but a big house upstairs after the cows. They, you know,
That's,
Gotta be careful.
I've worked in
that's
that.
not Ossipee.
he's in Ossipee.
No, that's
He lives in
Mulboro.
Mulboro.
Yeah.
The
Is
home
it?
is in
Yeah.
Mulboro.
That is Palmerston,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not us.
not Ossipee.
Bridge was yours.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. That one,
Ah.
but the barn itself,
Nice spot up there.
So
the
the que-
barn and the house are in Mulboro. Most of his forest land is in Ossipee and Tamworth.
Yeah, we didn't need permits back then. It's long ago.
So, Mr. Chairman, our goal here with regards to this particular discussion is to identify some provision that will allow a property owner that has farm animals or agricultural animals in general to be able to build legally a barn or shed to house those same animals without having a residence on that same parcel. Is that correct?
That's what Steve wants.
Okay.
That,
Chairman, can we table this for now? I'll
No,
write
I mean,
something, I'll write something.
No, I
up,
just
I'll
wanted
send
to
that
clarify
to the
that that's
body.
what we're.
And it may never come back
No,
again.
no, but I think it's worth looking into because I think we have a lot of parcels of land in town that are large enough for someone to have animals grazing on them. And they would certainly like to have some kind of a structure that keeps them out of the elements.
the only stipulation, if you're gonna do agricultural only, is that lot is contingent with the house lot. So the two are next to each other.
Oh,
Or
so,
across the street from one.
so we don't have an
I-
isolated, right, an isolated.
I don't want a
property.
barn on Maplewood Drive, and the guy lives on,
Let me
Yeah.
table it, and I'll get back to you.
That sounds like a good point of discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Steve's asked 3 times if we could just
Yeah.
wait, let him
Well, I
write
mean-
something up and then we'll deal with it. So why don't we wait?
any other sports and recreation facility. Oh, excuse me.
The house is dead.
Sidetrack the horses.
Well, Steve brought up that
Earlier,
they can have it as an accessory building, so
Sorry, guys.
Go stand in the corner.
Stirs up the pot and then leave.
She's coming back.
anyways, let me get back on track here.
Yep,
I mean,
let's get back to these things and get them done.
according to Steve, if you've got an office for a lawn care business or a landscape business, you can have an accessory building to house your equipment.
Yeah.
So, like,
Not in the village area, under commercial. And it's written right at the beginning of the book, you can't have a separate building. You can house it in the existing building, the same building,
it has to be inside.
in the same building. That's your business.
So, do we want to give lawn care / landscape business a definition?
Yeah, but it should be allowed
Yes,
in any
yes, I
district.
think we should.
The small business, generally small equipment, it should be allowed in every zone.
Right now, it's not allowed in the village.
That's my point, it should be allowed in the village. Guy has a
It-
2-car garage, he can start a lawn care business, so that do just fine.
If it's a business, it is allowed in the village.
Mm-hmm.
Village and commercial,
Mm-hmm.
they can be a mix. It's just the village that can do that. Village and commercial is the same.
That's
In that building.
under business.
In that building, yes.
Okay.
The very beginning of your ordinance book, you'll see village and
Mhm.
commercial. You can mix them both.
Right.
So do we need a definition?
No,
If
I
what you're
don't think you
saying
need a
is,
definition for it. You-
And we might well move on to the next thing.
And this is just gonna be storage as long as it's a business. You got an office, and then you part of that office to run it.
So the storage is not allowed?
Storage and warehouse is not, but if you have a business in there, an office,
Can I say something
then
here
it will be.
first?
Yeah, because it's an accessory to that business.
All right,
Exactly.
all right.
Under 34.2 in the table, you all can look at it, please.
What's the page for?
80.
Right.
Page 80, Rod.
I'm almost there, but stupid,
Yep,
there we go.
Okay, under 34.2, you have a list of different occupations. I was looking to add the lawn care / landscaping business within this table.
Mhm.
From there, we can decide whether or not, what area you want to approve, not approve. But if you go to page 83, under 35.2, commercial uses, each one of the items listed under 34.2 has a definition of what they are
Mm-hmm.
under 35.2.
Right.
This is all I was looking to do. If you want to add lawn care or landscaping business to the list, you have to come up with a definition.
Right. and I still think we should have that included in our ordinance, just as you described
Then we
it.
need to come up with a definition.
Correct. May I propose that one of us draft a definition for review by the board?
Short and sweet.
It is a
Right.
definition, lawn care.
Right, but you want to
You
define.
mow the lawn
Right,
care.
right.
It's its own definition, if you read it.
And I'm sure that other ordinances throughout the state have, someone has a definition of a lawn care maintenance business.
Probably printed by a lawyer, but if you put lawn care
Yep.
/ whatever there, it's pretty well self-explanatory in my book. Don't take a rocket scientist to know
Yeah.
what lawn care is,
Yeah.
landscaping. That's your definition. For landscaping, you make lawns, rock gardens, stuff like that, you don't want to sell a hole in.
I think you have to have more than a definition, more than lawn care / landscape business for a definition.
Yeah, yeah, you'd have to define in, as Roy said, in simple terms, what that is, what that business is. Just like, and I'll use this as an example, repair shop, business for repair of small appliances, radios, televisions, office equipment, or similar use. It's a very short and sweet definition. We could come up with a definition for lawn care and maintenance as well.
A mowing lawn, raking leaves.
Well,
Actually,
That's easier.
now you come
Let's give it a bamboo
into,
rake.
on a lawn care / landscape business, you come into, fertilizers, pest control, poisons, etc.
Oh, you get into fertilizers, other than maybe, lime, anything other than lime is a hazmat. It should be listed as such.
I might be wrong, but I think we're thinking too far into it.
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
It's just a lawn care company. If you
You
wanna
gotta-
start talking chemicals,
Zoning officer's gonna handle that.
somebody else is gonna fall into something of another category.
Right.
It's not that.
Or regulated.
Yeah, but a lawn care company fertilizes.
And some don't. I mean, how you
That's
want,
what I'm saying, Steve. You,
So wouldn't he, they'd have to come to him, right?
it would,
If they wanna start a lawn care, a business,
no,
why not?
it's where the lawn care is going to be, they will come to me.
Yeah.
And whether or not it comes here or it does not,
And
It's
then
up to
you
me.
would direct them to us if it had chemicals or something that was gonna be harmful.
exactly.
We'd have to come before the board and get permission to do that. If it's just a regular lawn care, cutting mowing lawns, you take care of it right there at his office.
Well, you wouldn't want any chemicals or stuff in the village district or the residential district.
Right.
no, the
Would be
water
my
district.
You take
I think
fertilizer.
we're making this too hard here.
Yes.
Certain fuels and stuff, you got one hell of a bang going on.
We're already covered under our hazardous materials section of our ordinance
Right.
with some of his.
Steve's gonna make that-
Exactly.
And if they wanna come
I
before
just
this board,
I
they
just
can
think we're
do
making
that.
it harder than it has to be.
I agree.
Well, I'm just looking at definitions, that's
Yeah.
all I'm looking at.
I do fertilizing, but I buy it down to Clark's, and I go to the job and get rid of it.
I think you need just a simple lawn
Yep,
care.
yep, yep.
It goes to Steve. Steve says, wait a minute, this isn't just a regular lawn care now. You're working with fertilizers, poisons.
Yep.
You need to go before,
Fertilizer, you don't need
I'm
license.
not saying it, I'm just saying if he has a question, he's gonna send him to the board. That's what we're here for.
Pesticides, you need a license,
Right. That's at a state level anyway.
right? I'm just looking at the storage point of view.
No fertilizer stored in the site, lime only. Fertilizer, or any of that stuff,
Then you're
there's a
saying,
hazmat.
then you're saying to the gentleman that's got 10 lawns that he's gonna fertilize.
He's got it on his trailer, fine, but you
Why
can't
are
put the
you
bill.
doing his job?
I think you're digging too much into it.
Yes. Right,
Go
yes.
over the aquifers,
Overthinking
go over
everything.
I mean, we look into things like
Why do
that.
we have to do Steve's job? Why are we here to do everything for him? He knows what he has to do.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Wouldn't be doing it.
We're not doing Steve's job.
Yes,
Steve's
we are.
job, Steve's job is this right here.
And he will take care
And
of
who
it.
defines that? This board defines what's in here.
We put in,
Then we put it to the townspeople.
you're missing my point.
You're
You
saying we
can't cover every single thing. That's what his job is. You have a basic zoning ordinance. If there's a problem there, he sends them to the board, and then we go through it and we dig it apart and come up with the final. But he can handle most of the stuff right out of his office. You don't have to make this harder than it has to be.
Mr. Chairman,
Dennis, you're saying that if he can't, his job is to enforce this book.
I'm saying if you have an ordinance for lawn care, a basic lawn care,
No,
they
no,
go to
no,
Steve.
wait a minute.
Now, wait a minute, let me finish. They
You're
go to
getting off the
Steve.
subject.
You never let anybody finish, do you?
No, you're getting off the subject.
No, I'm not.
Can we
I'm
point
on
of order?
subject.
Can we
We're
have a little
wasting time
decorum
here.
here?
All right,
We
all
do
right.
this every
Can
time.
we have a little decorum here, please?
Yeah, I know.
All right,
Sorry.
go ahead, Dennis.
I just, we don't need to be shouting
No.
at each other. We're all in agreement that we need to look at this, so we just have to keep our tempers in
Tim,
check.
Tim,
Yes.
Dennis, continue, please.
I'm just having a hard time. We put an ordinance in, a basic ordinance, lawn care. We don't put down every single detail. You're gonna miss something. They've gotta go to Steve. Steve sits down with them. Oh, wait a minute, you've got some poisons here that just don't fit in this area. You're gonna have to go to the planning board and get permission for this. Or you're gonna have to do a site plan. That's what his job is. We don't have to cover every single detail.
The only thing it doesn't cover is fertilizer. Anybody can buy it. That's why,
I'm not arguing with that.
that's why I suggested fertilizer. Everything else, you're right. That's the only reason I brought up fertilizer.
I just think we're spending a lot of time on something that we don't need to.
No, I agree with you. But we do have a
Ash,
hazmat.
you wanted to say something.
Oh, just two things. I mean, I get Connie's point, but I think the rest of the board also has a great point in that Steve is the line of defense in most of these cases. But our own ordinance has, and I'm trying to find it right now, prior to all of the definitions, I'm again trying to find it, and it even says that these are just examples of what are, or extensions or restrictions that need to be specific that are in there. But I mean, ultimately, if it's a business that's starting, it has to come in front of this board. This board has made that very clear. Secondly, what about hardware stores? A hardware store is permitted in the village district, but they carry a ton of fertilizer. So, I mean, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
I'm not too crazy, hardware stores carrying the fertilizer. There's no ordinance against it.
I don't have an issue with that.
So, I mean,
It's the aquifer.
Again.
Over the water. That's what they're worried about.
but that aquifer is under the entire town. I mean, we have gas stations approved recently that are on that same aquifer.
But the amount of money that they put in.
It's not for as much as what you can do with fertilizer.
Oh, I get that, but we have more than one
You
hardware
do know how
store.
they made duck ponds 50 years ago in this state.
I get it, but I mean, even Tractor Supply carries fertilizer. Ski-Ins carries fertilizer, and we have two hardware stores. I just,
Yeah, but now you're talking about a bunch of small business having fertilizer all over the place.
I don't think we're saying you can't. But Steve's the one that makes the decision. Someone has fertilizer and they're just gonna store it outside where it's gonna get weather beaten and broken open.
As a business owner, I
He's
would
gonna-
hate to do that, because that's just money.
But that's what he's gonna do.
Why would you do that? I mean,
Think people
let's
do
bring
a lot
some
of
common sense into what we're talking about here.
Right, right. We cannot create an ordinance that's going to cover absolutely every circumstance
You wouldn't
that's
want to.
potential. No.
You'll infringe
No.
upon constitutional
Right.
rights in doing that.
This is why we have a general description of what a business is and what it entails.
We're getting
General.
off the subject.
Okay.
I think it's very much the subject.
The point I was making, Dennis, is that this town passes the ordinances. Steve is the one that enforces them. We cannot enforce them.
We're denying.
But, could I say something? I think the point that Dennis is trying to make is it seems like we're trying to micromanage definitions to cover every possible thing and,
That's not possible.
right. I think that's the point Dennis was trying to make, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying, when you have a discussion about a subject, it's not cut and dry. There are many points of view. There are many ways that you can make a definition, and many ways that you can't. When we're having a discussion about creating a new definition or revising a present one, you've got to have more than one point of view.
Well, that's fine, but here we are, we've been here an hour now, and all we're talking about is a definition of lawn care.
Which was still
What's the point?
created.
And that's why I suggested that we review what's already been established with some other ordinances in other towns and review them within our own review process and see if we like the language. If not, we change the language to define generally what that business is. It's very simple. That way, once we have something written down, we can then have something we can actually discuss, because right now, we're just snatching stuff out of the air. Because we haven't got anything firmed up as far as a definition to discuss and review. And I think we should define that before we move any further on and continue this discussion.
we have a man right there that deals with this stuff every day.
Right.
We should leave it up to him. He's heard what we've had to say here tonight. He knows what he deals with every day. He knows what would make his job easier and what he'd like to see for a definition. We should let Steve have some input in this, get back to us, and then have a discussion on it. That's my whole point about this, doing his job. He needs to, he's got
Well, I think
ideas.
he'd like to do his job, we'd stay out of his business.
No, I think sometimes we make his job harder by
That's
not
right.
Yes.
listening to him.
That's right. And only deal with the stuff if Steve sends them here. We get involved in stuff with Steve's,
But, all right, I will ask the question then, Martha. What is he sending to us?
where are all these people coming to come in here?
No, I mean, what is he sending to us?
Oh, forget.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Thanks.
Everybody says Steve should make the decision. But Steve sends these people to us for an informal discussion which has no bearing whatsoever
lots of times, it's not just, you're calling it informal discussion. People come in here and they're looking for guidance. Help, what can I do? I got some land and what can I do with it? That's asking
That's it.
us.
That's
to
still
give-
an informal discussion.
Correct.
Well, I guess I don't look at it right.
Well, and sequentially, then they go to Steve and they explain to him what they intend to do, and Steve tells them, yes, you can do this based on our ordinance, or no, you cannot do this, but here's my suggestion of things you have to do to comply with the ordinance in order to get from A to B, which means filling out the appropriate applications or whatever. But if we don't have those ordinances for Steve to judge somebody's project on, it is our responsibility to establish those based upon input, not just from the board, but from Steve and even potentially residents of the town. And I don't see a problem with just coming up with a definition that we can use as a tool to discuss and be done with it. I mean, we
Mark.
can,
I agree with
I-
that.
I-
I agree with that.
and I think that's true for all 7 of these definitions that Laura has suggested. I think they're all great. I think they're necessary for additions to our ordinance. But without having an actual definition to discuss, we're just grabbing at straws in the air.
And beating the horse over and over
Right,
and over
right.
again.
And I would like to just say, I mean, I will take it upon myself, if no one chooses to do so, I'll go and look at other municipalities' ordinances to see how they've defined these 7 items that are on Laura's list of suggestions, and present them to the board prior to our next meeting so that we can review them and say, yeah, that sounds reasonable, that sounds like it gets the essence of what we're trying to establish for our ordinance. Period. Okay?
I'm fine with that.
I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, and I don't want to, argue with anybody. I just think that we need a plan, and we don't have a plan right now.
I'll make a motion that Mr. Otterbeck do just as he suggested here.
I'll second that.
Before we get into that, any discussion on it? Ash?
There's a motion on the floor.
Yeah, you gotta act on the motion.
No, I thought maybe you wanted to comment on it. He had his hand up. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, Ash?
The Economic Development Council met last night, and we were discussing zoning ordinances in this town. What is this board's deadline for ordinance change suggestions that the EDC can propose to it?
November 12th is
First
the
day.
first day to accept petitions to amend zoning ordinances.
December 12th is the last day.
Okay.
So essentially, we have one planning board meeting between now and that date for the economic development group to present to us.
No, you have
Jim,
No?
the first day you can submit them is November 12th.
Oh, first day. I'm sorry, I
The
misunderstood.
last day to submit is December
December.
12th.
My apologies. I misunderstood.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Revision of the order of business. Under page 2, under type of a hearing to be stipulated before the hearing starts. Informal discussion is not part of a hearing. Page 2 at the top. Because a hearing is noticed.
The only thing that was basically changed was adding the Pledge of Allegiance in after the call of order,
Yeah.
and then changing old business to unfinished business.
I don't know where that part, where, you know, when the hearings that came in,
What?
yeah. Because you've got informal discussion, then you've got hearings and you're saying informal discussion again. I think
Fine,
that
I'll
should,
remove it.
okay. Anybody else find anything?
Too busy packing up.
Make a motion with that correction that we adopt the order of business.
Second.
Any more discussion on it? All those in favor? Motion carries. Two ZBA hearings were both granted. Already covered the budgets. The upcoming deadlines, November 12th, the first day of pending zoning ordinances. Wednesday, Ash, if you've got ordinances you want changed, are you gonna petition them, or are you going to just submit them?
We would much prefer to have the support and recommendation of this board, so I would like to bring them here, and
Well, there's a difference.
I understand, but I think if we bring our ideas to you, I think that it can be something that you would add to your agenda and zoning changes.
If you, are they suggestions of changing the ordinances we have now, or adding new ordinances?
It's too early to tell. There was a discussion last night from members of the board that had ideas. We didn't go too deep into it because we had a lot on our agenda last night to discuss, but I wanted to come here tonight to ask this board what its recommendation to us would be.
Well, if you want to change something or add a new ordinance, you'll have to go through the same procedure we've gone through here, which is, you know, what section you're gonna put in there. And if it needs a definition.
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that they submit to us or to Laura that list of those things referencing specific chapters and, you know, articles and whatever, so that we can have them in our packets prior to our next meeting? So
They
we'll
don't-
have a chance
They
to
aren't
review.
ready.
Yeah, it would be a few
There
weeks
was a
time.
discussion
It's
last
just a
night.
discussion.
Yeah.
But I would ask our board to submit them with the strike-throughs needed, the new wordings amended, and everything in place as a suggestion to this board.
That's what I'm asking.
That's what-
We can
That's what I
do, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I would do it. So
So
there's
we
very
can-
little conversation.
Right, so
This is
we
what
can
we would
review
like
them.
to see with this board, add this to its, list of zoning changes.
Right. And I'd like to have an opportunity to review those prior to our next meeting when we discuss them, that's all.
Jim, they haven't got them yet. They were only discussing
I
them.
understand, Connie, all I'm asking for is at the point when they have a list of the strike-throughs or rewording or whatever, that they submit it to Laura prior to our, whatever meeting we're going to review them, so that we each have an opportunity to review them prior to coming into that meeting.
Okay,
That's all I'm
that's
asking for.
But the way you worded it,
My apologies if my wording was incorrect.
you were asking for the next meeting.
I would,
So, being the next meeting, November,
We have one thing left.
yeah.
You had on your desk tonight a revision to the subdivision and boundary line adjustment
Yeah.
application. I went in today and just, all I did was on page 4, added a couple of extra lines for parcel 2 signatures. Because we only had signature lines and a witness line for 1. There's now 2, so that both parties can sign the same application.
Make a motion that we accept the draft. Checklist for subdivision approval or boundary line adjustment as presented.
Second.
Any more discussion on it? All those in favor? Motion carries. There is no other business in front of us.
One other thing, I want to comment that all pits have been inspected and have passed. The rest of them.
Where are the written reports?
I have them.
You have
I
them,
was just gonna ask that.
okay.
All reports we filed with Laura.
All right,
Thank you, George.
make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.